all very much for watching. This is my second installment of a podcast, A Stitchy Chat. And today I am joined by Kim. And I'm going to have to say it right. She just explained it to me. It is the Contented Needleworker, Kim. And it is so lovely to have you. And I just mentioned the beautiful backdrop behind you. And we look forward in this episode to hear a little bit more about you and your stitching and get to know you a little better.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Let's just get started and tell us a little bit about you and everything you do when it comes to needlework.
Okay. Well, I am a wife. I've been married to my best friend, my husband, since 2016. So we're 8 years going on 9 years. Some people have actually met my husband because he'll drive me to since I've been going to the retreats at the attic in Mesa, Arizona, he will drive me. And so many people have met him there, as well as anyone who stays to the end of my videos gets to see my husband there because he always shares scripture at the very end. And so we are Christian. I am a mom. So between the two of us, we have two sons, grown. One is just about to graduate from college here pretty quickly.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Let's see. I am retired. I was a court reporter in my professional career, a stenographer. I went to school for that right out of high school and worked doing that for, I think it was 36 years. So that was a wonderful career for me. But at the end, towards the last several years, I started having a lot of physical challenges because of the nature of the job and the repetitive nature of it. So between the carpal tunnel and all the things, and I'm very happily retired. That was wonderful to be able to retire. So I am very good at it. I always say, people say, how do you like retirement? I am very good at being retired. Stitching obviously works really well for this. One of the things I know that people ask me a lot about stitching is, you get a lot done. How do you get a lot of stitching done? Well, being retired is one of them, right? And I also actually have a lot of chronic insomnia. So there are many a night where I'm doing late night stitching because it is quiet. You can be very quiet and the rest of the house can be sleeping. So, and then I was born in Canada, but we moved when I was 3.5 back here I live in Southern California right now currently. And I also spent 14 years in the state of Michigan and then back to Southern California where, I am now. So let's see, stitching. I don't actually have a clear memory of how I started stitching. It wasn't a family member. I'm sure it was a friend that introduced me to it, but I have the worst memory ever. And I've really tried to think about how did I first start stitching. I don't even know. I do know what right? It's not just me.
No.
I do know that the first pieces that I was drawn to when I started stitching, because I still have them. So I know I can see they're at my mom's house. I have Paula Vaughn. Did you ever stitch Paula Vaughn?
I have not.
Paula Vaughn was very popular back, and this was probably in maybe, I don't know, let's just say the 90s. Let's just round it up and say the 90s. So a lot of Paula Vaughn. And then I quickly got quite enamored with Mirabilia, the big, fancy, beautiful ladies. And that was quite a bit of my stitching for a number of years were the Mirabilia. I have to tell you, one of them's hanging in my mom's house and the other, I think 3 are hanging in my very best friend from forever. They're at her house. Because they're large and they take up a lot of wall space very quickly. So when I transitioned into a different kind of stitching, obviously I just said to my friend, I said, hey, would you like to hang these up in your? She's like, yes. I was like, awesome.
That's a good purpose for something you stitched.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then after that, I think what happened was I started watching Flosstube. And I discovered Brenda and Laura Brenda the sampler, Brenda the sampler stitcher, and Laura the serial starter, and also Carol Saltbox Stitcher. Those were two huge influences in my shifting of the stitching. I think when I first got into stitching, I was doing a lot of seasonal, so a lot of Plum Street, Brenda Gervais, the small blackbirds, a lot of that kind of stitching. And then I started watching Brenda and Laura and Carol. I had never been exposed to samplers. I didn't know anything about them, and you just kept seeing them, and then I fell in love with samplers. Yeah. So that has been the majority of my focus, I would say, for quite a few years now. So,
and that's really something that Flosstube can do, doesn't it? It can really introduce you to people and to designers that you've never heard of, and a world just opens up, and you just start stitching something completely different.
It has been absolutely amazing. I started on trying to dip my toe into the community with Instagram, because I'm not techie, and I don't do social media a lot. Facebook is beyond me. I can't figure out how to find what I'm looking for. But I did discover Instagram and started there, just gently posting some things, and really got to know regular commenters or people that you would see a lot, and you would form this relationship with them on Instagram. And then, of course, YouTube. And how I discovered Flosstube was I did not have someone teach me to stitch. So when I realized that Google was a thing, and I'm stitching, and I was like, oh, I could Google, I might be doing this wrong, who knows? And I Googled cross stitch, and that's how I discovered Flosstube.
Wow. Yeah,
so
great.
Yeah, it's a great resource, right? Being able to have that at our fingertips now. So I discovered Flosstube and started watching a lot of Flosstube, and it was another way to be able to have your show and tell, right? Cross stitch, show and tell, and is just a little bit of a progression, I guess, if that's a good word, from Instagram, where you can actually talk a little bit more about your stitching. So
yeah. And so how long have you been doing your channel now?
Is it 4 years?
That's quite long already.
I think it's 4.
Yeah. And what made you move into doing a Flosstube yourself?
I think that was it. I wanted to be able to, I watched a lot of Flosstube, and I took a good, couple of years where I was like, no, that's scary. No. And I was like, well, you're just going to make a recording. And if you don't like it, you just don't upload it, right?
Yeah.
So it really was just wanting to share my stitching, wanting to be a part of that, like everyone else that I enjoyed watching. I wanted to give it a whirl. So yeah.
And you already mentioned before that you're Christian and your husband does share scripture, and I usually listen into that as well. What made you decide on adding that into, because we all do those little bits and bobs where we put something in that makes it our Flosstube, and that's your bit. And could you just elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, it really wasn't planned. It's important to me that is the most important thing about me, is to share that I am a Christian. And so when I did my first video, I think I just made the comment, that's what I said. I think the most important thing about me is that I am a woman of faith. And so I think it just felt like, this is a platform. And if that's the most important thing about me that I want people to know, I guess it would be remiss of me to not put that in, because that is who I am. And that's so I just shared scripture. That's all I did in the beginning. Is for quite a while, I would just share scripture at the end and encourage other people who, to read for yourself, read before, read after, be a Berean, do all that. And one day I asked my husband, I said, would you want to share scripture at the end of my video? He's like, yeah, I could do that. I was like, okay, great. So he did it. And then I was mentioned, because we always talk about it, we got to pray about what should I share, what scripture and all that. And I said, oh, I'm getting ready to make another video. So going to have to start thinking about scripture. And he's like, okay. And I'm thinking, he was ready to do it again. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So it really just kind of flowed from that. And now what I love about it is it's just another thing we get to do together. I mean, he's very knowledgeable, because this is such a big interest of mine. This is the only hobby that I do currently. I've like many of us progressed through quite a few different things, but this is the one that I have, really just, it's the only one I do now. And so he has a real interest. You know, I talk about my friends, people on Instagram, Flosstube, people that I Zoom with. And so he really asks me things, you know, and so he knows a lot of the lingo, and he knows a lot of, he really knows a lot. And I love that we can have, I keep my conversations short. I don't want his eyes to glaze over.
He knows what a whip is, for instance. So he knows the word like that.
He does. And he'll ask me, he
lovely.
kind of likes to ask me stuff, you know, what's your current whip? What are you working on? Yeah, he's very cute. So
Oh, that's very nice. So I've asked you to show us a few pieces that mean something to you, and could you take us through those?
yeah. I actually, the first one I'm going to show you is my husband's favorite piece. I asked him one time, just out of curiosity, what's the favorite stitch that I've done? And he chose this one. And I think it's just, a lot of it is the sheer size.
Yeah.
Is that all right? Does that show up okay?
Yeah, I can see that.
This is that all right? I'm sorry. Okay.
That's
And a
perfect.
Four Screw by Rosewood Manor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is when I first was watching Flosstube, and I was definitely influenced by Stephanie from Lindy Stitches and Blitz Stitch, and they were both stitching this, and I just copied them. It was like, oh, 32 count antique white Lugana, 2 strands over. Okay. And so that's how I stitched this. I have actually now, at this point, I am 40 count linen is my preferred, my go-to. But this was definitely, it's an impactful because it is so large. And it did take a good, I don't know, 18 months on and off to finish, because it's a lot of stitching. So this is
It's
my husband's
beautiful,
favorite
though.
piece. And of course I love it as well.
Yeah,
I
it's
think, and I
absolutely
did
stunning.
use
And
the,
I love all those different motifs of trees. I think stitching trees is lovely and stitching flowers is lovely. And with a piece like this, they have so many different types of tree, and I just love that. I think that's so creative.
I changed the scripture in the middle to, because Stephanie said from Lindy Stitches, she said, if you have the chart and you can show me that you have the chart, she had recharted it and she would send you the change in the middle. I don't know if she's still doing that. This was, like I said, when I first was watching Flosstube, I don't know, in 2017. So it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Then I want to show you. So one of the comments I get, or that I make a lot, is that I do not enjoy stitching borders. I'm like kind of known for not liking to stitch borders. I wanted to show you that I actually do stitch them, but I thought this is why, these are a couple of pieces that are reasons why I will think very, very hard before I stitch a border. So this is Stacy Nash, Summer at Hollyberry Farm. And it's beautiful. I love it. I'm very happy I stitched the border, but this was one, man, I wind my way through that for a very long time.
But it is so beautiful, though. It is very, and I'm not a border fan myself either because it's repetitive. But if you look at the finished piece, it's beautiful.
Yeah. This needed the border. There are pieces, that's kind of what I do, is I look at something and go, is the border like the defining or one of the defining features? Because if it is, I will have to stitch the border or choose not to stitch the piece.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's kind of how I decide. I'm not sure if you can see right over here to the side is my, it's the Smith sampler by the Scarlet House. Another piece. I loved this design, and it has to have the border. And that border was not enjoyable. So that was the progression, right? That was how I kind of got away from really wanting to pick pieces where I would have to do that. So then I went into where I would take just a portion. So say this is a very large sampler by the Scarlet Letter, and the bird is the centerpiece, right? But there is a whole bottom part of, it says something like there's words at the bottom, and then there's an angel, like little cheruby type angels all the way around the piece. No. So
Oh,
So the bird is my favorite part.
yeah.
And so I stitched the bird. I did a little cut and tape of the chart. I made a working copy, and I cut so that I could move some of the flowers a little bit around. But that, and then putting it in this clock, which was another finish that I started to do quite a bit. I love this. I would
And
never have
how
stitched
did
the
you
whole
get
piece.
to the, sorry, how did you get to the idea of doing a clock? Because I love this finish. I think it's perfect.
I have to say, I can't be 100% sure, but I do know that one of the big reasons why was because my friend Macy from Quaint Rose Needle. Oh, here we go, right here. Quaint Rose Needle Arts. She stitched this piece here. This is another bird. It is Mary Amelia's bird. And she charted it, and she actually put it in this clock as her finish. This is on her cover of her chart. It's a Hobby Lobby clock. And so I don't know if this was the beginning, but it very well could have been that I got the idea of doing clocks. It's not new. If you look around, people have been finishing things in clock. Needlework Press has some stitches that she specifically designed that say something about time, and they're in clocks. So
Right.
I know I've seen them other places, but I just kind of took it like to
Yeah.
the whole next level where everything was in a clock
Yeah.
perfectly.
And I think
It
that one
was,
where it's with the bird in it, where it's hanging, the green one, I think it's just a very nice clock. And I like the color, and I like how it sort of comes together. But the one you just showed in the white clock has been on my wish list for a long time. That with the bird is so pretty.
it's so
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so I progressed to, this is another one. This is I can't say it correctly. It's couleur tutoile. I don't know how to pronounce it,
Oh
but
yeah, couleur de toile. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
another very large chart with a very intricate, beautiful border.
Yeah.
And I just took the center. I literally just stitched the center, didn't make any changes, but just stitched the center.
Can you hold it up to the camera a
I
little bit?
can. Yep.
Because,
Yep.
oh yeah, that's beautiful.
And this is a plate frame. It's not a round, it's a squarish
No.
one, but it's a plate frame. And I just used the hooks that were on there.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
what mine
this.
looks like in the back too. It's very nice.
Yeah.
And what is it stitched on? Is this on 40 count? Have you moved
This
to
would have
40
been
count?
40
Yeah.
count. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
40 count with the DMCs that were charted. I don't think I made any changes to this one. I do make a lot of changes to things,
Yeah.
whether it be, colors or moving
Yeah.
things around, but just the center.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And the frame is a perfect fit, isn't it? It's just, it was made for it, really.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so I've done this quite a bit now. I mean, I don't know, can you see my Martha Walmsley? This is a hat's Martha Walmsley back here where I just stitched can you see, is it too far?
Yeah, it's a bit too far, but it's a round one, isn't it?
It's a plate frame,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
just stitched the center portion. I just stitched the bird. So I love this entire sampler. It's absolutely beautiful. Martha Walmsley by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. But the
Yeah.
border is quite a lot of
Yeah.
stitching, and the bird is my favorite part. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So why not focus on that? And then you can stitch a lot of the things that you really love rather than putting a lot of time in
Yeah.
something that you might not enjoy as much. And I have to be honest, the big one behind you, love the Lord your God with all
Yeah.
your, I can't
Mind,
read it
heart,
any.
soul, and strength. Heart, soul, mind, and strength. Yeah.
There you go.
Um,
That one is stunning.
that is Reflet de Soie. And
Ah,
it took quite a while. It is called Louisa Barney. And it
yeah.
actually says her name. I changed and added the scripture. I do that whenever I possibly can. I will switch out a name or alphabet, and I will
Yeah.
substitute scripture. So that
Yeah.
was a lot of again, I have alphabet books or different,
Yeah.
you get them from different places, and that was a lot
Yeah.
of cutting and taping together. It was like a day. Just cutting and
Yeah. And
taping
it's a lot of
together.
counting, isn't it? And
It
but it's
was.
beautiful and it fits
It was.
perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was another border. She had to have the border, and it took
Yeah.
a very long, it took quite a while. I have to tell you that one of my favorite things to do is to Zoom with friends. And many a time, I only finish something because it is a lot less painful to stitch on these things when you're distracted and you're just
Yeah.
chatting. I have my recent finish. Let me show you what my example of what just happened yesterday. And it was because all the zooming I've done this last little bit, I finished this border and
Oh,
the alphabet. This is
that's also
beloved.
a pretty border. Very
Yep,
pretty.
yep. Beloved by Running with Needles and Scissors. And I was so tempted just to stitch the birds and put it in a,
Yeah,
a clock or a frame. But this border and this blue band, I loved them so much that I decided that that had to
it's
happen.
very
So
pretty. It's very
yeah,
pretty. And the
yeah.
birds go very well with your whole ensemble of birds, basically.
I'm not sure how that happened either. I just noticed, or other people noticed that I was stitching a lot of birds. And I thought,
Yeah.
you're right, I am. My
So what
favorite
makes you
motif.
want to pick a piece? What makes you go, oh, that is a piece I want to stitch?
Yeah.
Is it an emotional attachment or is it more colors or is it could be anything really?
I do think color has a lot to do with it. I like stitching with certain colors more than others. So the pinks, those types of color, that color scheme is far more enjoyable for me to actually do a lot of stitching.
Yeah.
There are a lot of birds, and you're right, I don't stitch all of them. There is just something that'll pull you to a certain style, aesthetic. And you just know
Yeah.
when that's the one, right? Because I'm so fortunate that people know, and on Instagram I often get messages that say, did you see this? I saw this and thought of you. So I find
Yeah.
some of them that way. I'm like, oh, you're right.
That's what the Flosstube community is for as well, isn't it?
Yes,
We point it out to each other.
yes, yes.
So I got a question for you from Somi Sarah, who I spoke to last time. And it was if you could spend a day with a designer, which designer would it be and why?
I know, I thought that was an excellent question and
Me too.
hard, actually,
Yeah.
very, very difficult. I have actually been very fortunate through going to retreats at the attic where I have met some wonderful designers and have been invited to their home, with like a group of us, maybe been invited. And so gosh, this was, anyway, I'm going to give you my answer. It was really hard. I would choose Macy from Quaint Rose Needle Arts. I would love to sit and meet her, and she's just lovely. And I have stitched a lot of her birds. She has been one that I have definitely quite a number of the birds I've stitched are from Macy. I like her aesthetic. I love her. She's so
Yeah.
sweet. I would love to meet her. She is fast. You see her and she stitches all her, I think she might be looking for model stitchers, but as far as I know, she stitches a lot of all her own things. And I would show her, she would show, I was like, oh my, and she's got like 3 little kids. I'm just like, how?
Some people can do it all.
Yes, yes. So I'm gonna choose Macy from Quaint Rose Needle Arts, but the
And
list is long.
what would you ask her?
How do you stitch? How do you get all that done? How do you what I would like to see her stitch, how is she so fast? And I know a lot of what she chooses, she finds an antique sampler and so she'll reproduce it, but she's been doing a lot of her own designs. So I'd love
Yeah.
to see her process. Do you draw it out? What inspires you? Where do you get your ideas? Yeah, that would be a wonderful afternoon just to sit and see how she
Yeah.
designs.
And you say there are many others. Who is the runner up?
One. Oh, I wasn't ready for just. I was like, I could be super bougie and list
I'm
all these
sorry.
people, and it'd be like, but I'd forget somebody. I would totally forget somebody. There are some people. I mean, they're just lovely. Darlene Dion, from Darlene
Mm.
Dion Designs up in
Yeah.
Canada. I would just love to just sit and stitch with her and chat, and if Sarah, the rocking chair stitcher, could come for a visit, we could all get together and do that. I have friends that I would just love to meet. Kenzie from My Puppy Stitchery and Diana Bloom from Diana Bloom Designs. They love to do birds and nature. That would be amazing, right? So it is quite a list. If I could get around.
And isn't it nice that Flosstube sort of brings us all together? Because we're all everywhere, aren't we? So we have to find a place And this appears to be it. So that's very nice. So if you could give a tip to the viewers, and it could be to new stitchers or experienced stitchers, but if you could give a tip from all your experience of stitching, what would it be?
It's definitely use YouTube as a resource.
Hmm.
Flosstube. Google it. If you don't know how to do something, I I'm pretty sure there's probably a tutorial by now. And that's how I learned because, like I said, I didn't know. I had never heard of loop start, how to pull the skein, off your DMC from the number side. I mean, just
Yeah.
basic all the way up to pin stitch, the many ways to do a pin stitch, the many ways to start over one. I tend to stitch from the top of my fabric as much as possible. And so I learned that you can even weave your end under your stitches from the top of your fabric, right? You don't have to flip it to the back. I mean, these are just lots of little bits that you will learn as you
Yeah.
just Google it, search it out.
Yeah. And I think it's good to try all of it and then just see how it goes. And then pick whatever works for you because we can all do the same things, but some things don't work for me. I like a loop start, but sometimes I don't use it because it doesn't work for that piece. So yeah, I think just do what works for you.
And I've changed the way I stitch over the years of stitching, trying
Yeah,
something, maybe trying something else, see what I
yeah,
prefer. So I stitch differently, and I may still continue to stitch differently going into the future as I try different things. So,
absolutely. And that's all
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So if I have a few quick fire questions for you. So we have quick fire questions, but you already answered the first one, which is your favorite fabric, and I think you said 40 count.
Yeah.
So there you go. What is your favorite color to stitch with?
Pink,
Pink.
pink.
Yeah, I wouldn't guess.
Yep.
And I think the next one I'll know full coverage or primitive samplers.
Yeah, samplers. I think I've done, and I hadn't realized that I have actually done a full coverage because one of the other things I stitched in the very beginning was a dimensions kit. And it never
Oh,
dawned on me that that was actually full
yeah,
coverage.
yeah. And would you ever dip your toe again in dimensions or mirabilia, or are you very much into the style that you have behind you now?
Mirabilia, Nora Corbett, she still tempts me. There are so many beautiful designs. I still love the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So I have been tempted many a time by those again. And what was the other one? What was the other two other two?
And
You give me.
dimensions, you just said.
I think that 2, 3, 4 strand thing, I remember how hard it was to get that floss through that full coverage thing. I don't think I would do a dimensions, but never say never, right?
Hmm.
I would love to try a full coverage. I do think that if I found one that ticked all the boxes, I might still
Yeah.
be tempted to try a full coverage. Maybe not a really large one. I mean, I don't have that many years left to stitch.
Not a
Small one.
massive heaven and earth designs. Just go for a little one.
Yes.
They do exist. Are you a morning stitcher or an evening stitcher?
Both, honestly. Yeah. I get to stitch throughout. If I don't have any plans, if I'm not doing anything, going somewhere and I'm just home, it's very, my normal day is you wake up and you have your toast and your coffee and you brush your teeth, wash your face, and you sit down and start stitching, right? And then I will just take breaks through the day, do a chore, do dishes, do laundry, whatever, get, I'm not moving as much as I should be at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that
like,
comes with it, doesn't it?
yeah, I
Yeah.
should be moving a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, but I get to stitch throughout the day, on and off, and then and into
Yeah.
into the evenings, depending on how tired I get.
And I think you said earlier when you're tired, you even, or when you can't sleep, you even stitch in the night.
I can. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, good for you. That means you get a lot done.
I do.
Do you stitch kits at all, or do you always kit up your
Yeah,
own
I
patterns?
I would say no to kits. I kit up my own. Not a process I enjoy. I do not enjoy
You
kitting things
don't.
up at all.
Why not?
Well, if all I had to do is like buy the chart and push the button that said add everything I need to the cart and it would all just come. That would probably be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of choices, right? I have to pick the right kind of linen, and that right there is huge. And then my flosses are spread out, and some of them are fancy floss or silks. I'm not going to keep buying a new entire skein. I'm going to look. It's somewhere. It's somewhere in here. It could take me a long time to find it.
Yeah.
So it's the actual process of making all those decisions. And then if I'm going to change something, that can stall me. So yeah, it's because of the way, I guess, I kit things up.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of the decision making that comes with it. And I've always feel a little bit of pressure. Am I making the right choice? Am I making the right? And it doesn't really matter if it isn't, but it feels like it's important.
Yeah.
Would you stitch from a paper pattern or PDF? So, an app.
Yeah, I'm paper. I've always I do paper. I like paper. I wish I could just stick with paper. I have to tell you that I am encountering some issues here and there, or difficulties, challenges, where some of the charts are difficult to see. They're too small. The symbols are very the same, matchy, and so I think that there are times where it would probably really be beneficial to try something like Pattern Keeper or Markup XP or any of those things. The question I have, and so I can't really give an opinion because I haven't tried it, but the question I have is, for me, the way my brain works is I have my paper chart literally inches above where I'm stitching. So my eye just has to look from here to here. And if you are saying that a product like Pattern Keeper or whatever, it makes me have to look away and look and then look back, I'm lost. Yeah. I already don't know what I'm supposed to do.
You need to have it together.
I do. So if there's like some sort of a stand that would bring my device right over my stitching and it would be right where I need it, then I think that would be something I could try.
Yeah, I use my phone, and I usually have my phone very close. So, but the phone has a very small screen, and that's not perfect. I prefer a bigger screen, really.
I do. I need more. But you can retrain your brain. I mean, I'm used to what I do, and it works. I guess, I'd have to do a period of time where I adjusted. That's really not necessary. So paper charts are usually what I do.
It's fine. Yeah, it's worked for years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What is your biggest cross-stitching regret or mistake?
Yeah, I know Sarah had a hard time answering this question. So I thought about it a lot. I was like, that is a hard question. I will tell you one of the things the first thing that came to mind. So I'll tell you this one. When I was first stitching and I was doing a mirabilia, and it was very, it wasn't full coverage, but it was very dense, I went over 3 threads instead of 2. And I thought, and I didn't notice it right away. And as I was coming back to it, I was like, phooey, right? And I didn't want to pull it out. It was a lot of stitching because I was like, it'll be fine. I'll adjust. Yeah. I could not adjust. It did not. And so when I was done with the piece, and I know where it is, it's at my friend's house. I know where it is. When I look at it, there is a line where you can see that section is, it's, if you're not really looking, you probably won't see it, but I know it's there. So I learned that lesson, that if you're, not happy with a stitch or the way it looks or whatever, there are times where you do have to frog.
Yeah, you do. So frogging sometimes has to happen. Yes. And I tend to reward myself. After I frogged, I can stitch something that is really nice. So it's sort of a reward system. Would you use bobbins or floss drops?
Floss drops.
Yeah, they're nice. Would you start something new or finish a whip?
Both, actually. They are both very enjoyable to me. Yeah, for sure. I am mostly a product stitcher. One of the things I found this very interesting. People would stitch just for the joy of stitching. They actually did not care. It did not matter to them if they had a finished product. And I was like, okay, what? Like, I will only put my time into something that I actually want finished. Yeah. And if I've lost interest, I've gotten better at giving myself permission just to pass it on, to stop stitching it. So I definitely have to say both. I want the finish. but I'm also, you want to stitch something? There's a Sal. Yes, I'm
Go
on board.
for it.
Count me in.
Yeah. And I like what you're saying. If you don't like what you're stitching, put it aside. There's no reason to continue on it because we don't have time for it really. And so we'll take that as another of your tips.
Yes.
Do you stitch in hand or do you use a hoop or a stand or anything?
I am Q Snap and Lowry. Yeah.
Right.
Q Snap and
Yeah.
Lowry. I've tried. I don't like, and I'm not super happy with the way my stitches look when I stitch in hand, and I don't want to practice enough to get them better. And it hurts my hand. I don't, and I
Yeah.
stitch on 40 count. So to me, I can't get the holes
Yeah.
enough to see. So it just takes so much time for me to find the hole. And when I get it nice and on my Q Snap and in my Lowry, it's more comfortable. I stitch with two
Yeah.
hands.
And so I think that those are my quick fire questions. So
Okay.
thank you very much for answering those. Do you have a question for my next guest?
I did. Oh, I know. I remembered it. I was like, I'm so glad Sarah went first. She did such a fabulous job, right? And I was like,
Good.
okay, let me
Yeah.
think about what questions she asked her in case she's going to ask me the same ones. I thought of, what is your favorite brick and mortar needlework store?
I
Or
like that
if it's
too.
not one that you have been to, is there a bucket list store for you, one that you would really like to go to? I think that we're very fortunate, again, through Flosstube, that people that go to these stores take
Yeah.
videos. And so maybe you'll never get to go, but it is nice to be able to take that virtual tour. And I
Um,
appreciate that's also available to us.
yeah, I love that question. I've just done a tour of a shop in Belgium, and they got back to me saying, "Oh, we've had people from different places contacting us." And that's also great, isn't it? It's good for business as well. And that wasn't necessarily my intention, but that
Yeah,
is what happened. So I think that's very nice for them.
yeah, yeah.
And it's worth it because these shops do need to exist for
Yes,
me and
support.
people like me.
Yes, we
Yeah.
need to support. I try to spread mine all around. I do a lot of
Yeah.
online, Etsy, PDFs, but I also really save up for when I'm going to be at a brick and mortar store to
Yeah.
support them as well.
So which one is your favorite?
The
Brick and mortar.
attic, the
Yeah.
attic needlework in Mesa, Arizona. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially as a sampler stitcher, they have all stitching, but for me, especially as a sampler stitcher, wow, you just
So
need
what,
so
because
much.
I've never been there. So what makes that shop so amazing? Because a lot of people say it's amazing.
Yeah, it's just I think the quantity of needlework that you can walk around and look at. And you really have to go around time and again and again and again and look in every nook and cranny and look on every table and in every little display case and the little tiny stitching, the pillow. I mean, it's just, and Jean, her 56 count. So some things are very tiny. The local designers, there are a lot of local designers, sampler stitchers, that they design samplers. So there's like a table of all the local designers. It's just the Bristol samplers, all the red samplers. It's just a lot of beautiful needlework to enjoy and look at. Yeah.
And that's when I went to the shop in Belgium as well. It's so much fun to see all their samples and get all the ideas from it. It's almost like walking into a little museum of all this
Yes.
cross-stitch stuff. And yeah,
Yes.
it gives a lot of inspiration as well as just the patterns that you can purchase.
Oh, you more than once, do you see it on the wall and go, oh, where's that?
Yeah, yeah,
Where is
absolutely.
that? That happens all the time.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, I keep looking at the one behind you, the big one, and thinking, I have to stitch that. I don't know, but I have to stitch that one. But last time Sarah showed me one, and I thought I have to stitch that one, so I've started it. So I can't start a new piece every time I do one of these. So I have to contain myself. But that one is beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, that was it from me. I don't know if you have anything you would like to say to the viewers or anything you wanted to say that I haven't asked.
No, I was very nervous. I told you I was very nervous to do that, but you are lovely. Your channel is lovely. I hope everyone has discovered you and your beautiful stitching. I'm excited to see your couch floral motif
Yes,
progress. That's a lot of
yes,
fun to watch. And your little sewing box. I love that idea. Yeah, you're a beautiful stitcher. You stitch a lot of different things.
I do.
Um,
Yeah.
so thank you so much for having me and making this just very enjoyable, quite pleasant. Had a great time.
Oh, good, good. Well, that's the most important thing. I want to thank you very much for doing this. I think it's very kind of you to take your time. It's 10 o'clock where you are. Well, it was when we started. It's 7 o'clock here, so we made it work.
We did.
Somewhere at some point during the day we could meet up. So thank you very much. You were very kind to very quickly say, yes, I'll do this because it is still a very new format. So I'm still
Mm,
trying it out. And it's very kind when people say, yes, I'll try it out with you and
yeah,
we'll just see how it goes.
yeah.
So thank you very much. I'll just address the viewers as well. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments, and someone commented last time, can we also leave questions? And yes, you can. So if you have a question for my next guest, then please leave it in the comments. And thank you very much.